than this. Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How's things, Pablo? T, good to see you. So how you doing? Hello, Miles. Hope you're well. I'm doing great. T, how you doing? How you been? Good evening, brother Miles. Funky brother, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Hey, Miles. Mickey, good to see you. So how you doing, Mickey? How you been? Good yourself. I'm doing great, Pablo. What up, Miles? What up, CMF? What we got today? Mixture of news as always is what we got today. But good to see you. So how you doing? What's up, Kerry? How you been? Evening, Miles and CMF. Good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Good to see you as well. Denise, how you doing? How you been? Funky brother, good evening, CMF. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and CMF. Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Sir, Mr. Miles, what up? Fit to travel. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Welcome to the CMF. Hello, Miles. How are you? Anna, I'm doing great. How you doing, Anna? How you been? How's things? Hi, Miles. How's it going? Great day for XRP. Yes, it definitely is a great day for XRP. Good to see you, Autistic. How you doing? Good evening, everyone in the CMF. Super good to see you. How you doing? Evening, Dennis. Let's go. Good to see you. How you doing, brother? How you been? So, as always, we have a mixture of news to go through on tonight's live, and I'm going to give you a breakdown of what we're going to be going through on tonight's live. And by the way, this is episode 243 of the CMF live right now, which is incredible. Even Miles of CMF, Pierce, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Here it is. Here's a breakdown of what we're going to be talking about on episode 243 of the CMF Live. We're going to be talking about regarding Trump signing an executive order to support crypto industries, including establishing a Bitcoin reserve. Then we're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding Trump also now open to the idea of an XRP and Solana reserve as well. Then we're going to be talking about tonight's live regarding, again, Trump in the terms of a potential Treasury Secretary pick, because the Treasury Secretary pick that Trump has chosen is against CBDCs and saying there is no reasons for a CBDC. I'll reveal why that doesn't really matter in CBDCs. They're going to happen no matter what once we get to that news. Then we're going to be talking about a crypto project which we rarely talk about on this live, which is Litecoin. And the only reason we're going to be talking about Litecoin just for a small segment is because Litecoin has also attracted ETFs. Then we're also going to go through the news topic on tonight's live regarding the matters of another company coming forward and following MicroStrategy's footsteps in terms of creating a Bitcoin reserve. Then we're going to be talking about Senator Cynthia Luminous essentially warning the FDIC staff against destroying documents. Apparently, the FDIC is destroying documents related to stifling cryptocurrencies when it comes to regarding banks. Then we're also going to be talking about on tonight's live regarding Solana ETFs and what the timeline for a Solana ETF is. Also, what the timeline for an XRP ETF is. And then we're also going to be covering news regarding the matters of, again, Senator Cynthia Luminous in terms of her questioning the US government in terms of selling their Bitcoin reserves, the 70,000 Bitcoin that they got from Silk Road, essentially. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the matters of the nations that are considering Bitcoin ETFs, a perspective coming in from Bitwise's CEO. Then we're going to be talking about Coinbase launching essentially a Bitcoin-backed loans. We're also going to be talking about XRP versus SEC on tonight's live, which is still one of the main subjects inside the crypto space. But apparently, it's got to a stage where nobody cares what Gary Gensler has to say, which is amazing to see, honestly. I was waiting for the day that the essentially entire crypto space and the XRP space came to the conclusion that, you know what, we couldn't care less of what Gary Gensler actually has to say. And we got to that stage. We're actually at the stage where nobody cares what Gary Gensler has to say anymore, at all. Because Gary Gensler filed, essentially against Ripple, yesterday, which we talked about on this live, and nobody can care less about it. XRP was still rising in price. Amazing to see. Now, before we go through those news topics, the first one we are going to be covering is regarding Trump essentially signing some orders and what could possibly be happening day one. Another perspective to go through. Before we go through the first news, I just want to say to everyone watching right now, welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, the CMF stands for Crypto Mouse Family. And on this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. We also do Q&As on this live as well, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So, welcome to the CMF Live. If you watch this for the first time ever, I'm your host, essentially Miles, but I go by the person Crypto Miles. And if you're a regular, let's go CMF. Now, the live show has officially started now, but before I go through the news or through the comment section, I just want to say to everyone, thank you so much to everyone who's liked this live, because I'm getting notifications right now on X. I'm getting notifications on X. Thanks so much to everyone who liked this live on X. Thank you so much to everybody who retweeted this live on X. Thanks so much to everyone who put a comment outside the video on X as well, and liked each other's comments as well. It was absolutely amazing. And thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching right now who's also liked and put a comment outside the video as well. Now, before we go for the first news, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we'll go straight into the first news, and then comments, news, comments, news. Let's see where we were. We were at here. Morning, Miles. Suze, good to see you as well. How you doing? Morning. Evening, Miles on CMF. Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles on CMF. Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? XRP to Venus. Let's go, funky brother. Greetings, Miles and family. The Ray, let's go, brother. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Bull XRP, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Free and Feather, good evening, Miles and CMF. Good to see you. How you doing? Hi, Miles and everyone. Hope everyone is well. One love. Good to see you. How you doing? Mike, good day, Miles and CMF. Good to see you. Mike, how you doing, brother? Good evening, Miles and all CMF. JP, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Lena, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Gary's family has given up on him. Lol. I'll be honest, it does seem so. Good evening, Miles. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Callie, good to see you. How you doing? Evening, Miles and family. Mav, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Deadpool, bro, how you doing? Now, first news on tonight's live. Trump signing essentially executive orders in terms of supporting the crypto industry, including a Bitcoin reserve, is what we're going to be covering. Hi, Miles and CMF. Connie, good to see you. How you doing? Perfect timing. Hello, bro. How you doing? I don't know how to pronounce your name, but how you doing? How you been? Welcome to the CMF Live. Justice for XRP. Facts chosen. Let's go. Now, first news on tonight's live is regarding Trump. Trump to sign an executive order in support of the crypto industry, including establishing a Bitcoin reserve. Donald Trump's upcoming executive orders, immediately after him essentially coming in day one, will be to create a Bitcoin reserve and end the debanking that the FDIC has been creating for the crypto space. For the longest time, the FDIC has essentially been stifling crypto companies from getting any sort of access to American banks. But because Trump is coming in and day one creating some sort of establishments, FDIC, essentially they can't be stifling crypto projects any longer under a Trump presidency, which is great, honestly. The proposed day one executive order will also include the nomination of Paul Atkins for the US SEC chairmanship and the appointment of David Sachs as the AI and crypto Caesar. Now, the Washington Post reported that Trump was expected to issue an executive order repelling the controversial crypto accounting policies and requiring essentially banks holding digital assets to count them as liabilities on their balance sheets. Venture capitalist billionaire essentially Mark Anderson and his peers were also essentially pressing Trump to revoke Biden's anti-crypto policies and establish regulations that reduce lawsuits and investigations against essentially crypto companies. The upcoming executive actions also aim to protect crypto investors from what President-elect Trump calls the Washington bureaucracy, and the first executive order will be essentially established and a presidential crypto council involving about 20 industry leaders. According to other sources, about 28 industry leaders. The 45th and 47th US president is expected to issue a crypto-related executive orders within the first few hours, essentially, of his second term. The International Business Times reported on this matter. Sources cited by IBIT revealed that the incoming president transitioning team floated a draft of comprehensive pro-crypto executive orders. The executive's orders also will likely include a provision instructing the US SEC to drop Staff Accountant Bulletin 121 from stifling essentially crypto companies through banks. Among the proposed EO essentially driven changes will be a reinformative recommendation mandating the US SEC and the CFTC to establish a working group to get regulators and industry players on the same page. Other more essentially comprehensive reforms will be expected to take time. Given the complexities of regulations and blockchain technology, Trump's executive order for a crypto council will align with his December decision to appoint Bo Hines as the Crypto Essentially Council's appointee head, helping digital asset industry leaders receive the tools needed to succeed in that field. Although essentially Trump has not been very vocal lately about establishing a Bitcoin reserve, his rally Senator Cynthia Luminous said she would push for one. According to the IBIT, it reminded to be seen whether Trump and Luminous would be able to pull off a Bitcoin reserve and whether the Crypto Council would benefit the broader crypto space. I'll go on a whim and say, just by Trump mentioning a crypto reserve, by Trump mentioning how America wants to become the capital of cryptocurrencies, the article essentially that are written by Trump right now are about, is Trump going to create that Bitcoin or that cryptocurrency executive order? Is Trump actually going to bring crypto regulations in? Is Trump actually going to do this for the crypto space? Is Trump actually going to do that for the crypto space? And I'll be honest, Trump has not even came in yet. It's not even January 20th. We already have the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, resigning January 20th, something that Trump said he will do and get rid of it, but he decided to do it by himself. The CFTC chairman already resigned as well. The FDIC chairman already resigned as well. The amount of pro-crypto politicians in Congress and senators is ridiculous. We got to a stage where everybody's pretty much pro-crypto in terms of politics. So these articles that are keep on coming out about Trump, trying to stir things up, trying to create some sort of FUD inside the crypto space. And they say, oh, do you really think Trump is going to create a crypto America or bring some crypto regulations or do anything positive for the crypto space? The man still hasn't even taken his seat and we can already see progress. So these news articles that are coming out essentially in some sort of way, these journalists that are coming out and spreading some sort of FUD and saying, do you believe Trump is actually going to help the crypto? The man hasn't taken his seat yet and we're already seeing progress. The SEC chairman is out. CFTC chairman is out. FDIC chairman is out. That's progress. That's humongous progress essentially inside the crypto space already. So these articles that have been written essentially by these journalists who are claiming, oh, do you really think Trump is going to help the crypto space? Yes, he hasn't taken his seat yet and we're already seeing progress. Some of the essentially proposed reforms not previously reported would include an order for the US SEC essentially to rescind its controversial exchange rule targeting DeFi projects. Another drafted order will direct the US Secretary of State to coordinate internationally in support of crypto-related essentially innovations. That is also great to see. They're not only going to be establishing America as a crypto capital hub, but they're going to get every country on board, sitting at the same table to talk about cryptocurrency regulations. Something that happened in the New Delhi summit and inside the G20 summit in New Delhi last year, essentially, where they talked about essentially creating a crypto policies that were similar to all these G20 countries and so on. So something similar that happened in the G20 meeting with G20 nations. It's something that America is thinking about doing. We're bringing countries to the same table to talk about crypto policies and regulations. So not only is America aiming for a crypto capital hub, but they want to bring every country on board on this matter. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. As per the IBIT source familiar with the matters, reportedly said Trump was likely to issue a sweeping executive orders that would benefit the crypto industry pretty much instantly off the bat. They, however, pointed out that it would probably take more time to get the reforms across the finish line, given the massive stack of essentially executive orders awaiting Trump's attention. They added that this could be a good thing considering the fact that some of the issues need more time for careful consideration and were important to essentially get right the first time. Given the nature of the presidency and essentially the no doubt surrounded Trump's first day in office, the timelines of the languages essentially of any proposed executive orders under consideration were subject to change. Bo Hines had called a few crypto policy leaders in Washington asking for a submission of crypto-related executive orders and proposals by January 15th. It appears even less likely that the president-elect's transition team is essentially polishing a single crypto executive order preparation for January 20th. For Trump's sit-down coming in less than a week after the January 15th deadline, the prominent crypto industry players such as Mara Holdings chairman and CEO and Cardano's blockchain co-founder Charles congratulated Bo Hines as well, and small crypto holders, however, doubted his capabilities and experience in handling blockchain or crypto matters. Look, the news can go on as much as it wants and try to diminish Trump's progress so far inside of any market space, is all what the news does so far. The news tries its best to diminish whatever Trump does that's positive in any sort of a way. Trump being positive towards stopping wars, the news will somehow turn that into a bad thing. Trump being positive for the crypto space, the news will somehow turn that into a bad thing. But the reality is he's going to help the crypto space immensely. He hasn't taken his seat, and we're already seeing progress. I mean, if you wanted a clear sign as, is Trump really going to help the crypto space? What could be more of a clear sign where he hasn't taken his seat and the SEC chairman resigned January 20th, CFTC chairman resigning January 20th, FDIC chairman resigning January 20th, and the people that are replacing him all pro-crypto, senators pro-crypto, politicians pro-crypto, everybody pro-crypto. Everybody who's anti-crypto is getting replaced by a pro-crypto person in the government. So as much as they want to diminish his progress so far, the facts are facts. This is why I always say everybody's entitled to an opinion. Me, you, everybody. Every journalist on this planet is entitled to an opinion, but opinions are not correct, and facts are facts. And the facts show that he hasn't taken his seat, and we're already seeing progress. Now, moving on essentially from Trump, moving on from that particular executive order, but sticking to the reference of Trump. One thing that Trump did say he wants to do is a Bitcoin reserve, which every country is thinking about jumping on the bandwagon. The moment Trump mentioned at the Bitcoin rally, he wants to do a Bitcoin reserve, Latin American countries are lining up to start some sort of a Bitcoin reserve. South Korea is thinking about doing a Bitcoin reserve because they said Trump thought about it. Essentially, every country on this planet is thinking about doing some sort of Bitcoin reserve, and it's only because Trump mentioned it. Now, what's interesting is that apparently, it's not going to be just a Bitcoin reserve. It's going to be a crypto portfolio, technically, which makes a lot more sense. And it's also what I said they should do. Not saying anybody's listening to me from Trump's administration, but it is something that I said it makes more sense of doing, not just for America, but for every nation around the world, to create a crypto reserve instead of just a Bitcoin reserve. Get a bunch of established, essentially legitimate crypto projects and create a crypto reserve starting now. So here it is. Trump is now open to the idea of an XRP and Solana crypto reserve. Now, this is coming from the New York Post. They revealed this. The cryptocurrency community is uniting in anticipation of Donald Trump, perceiving it as a pivotal moment that could potentially overturn the regulatory hurdles imposed during President Joe Biden's administration. This collective optimism reflects a broader belief among the industry stakeholders that a Trump-led government will create a more of a favorable environment for cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. According to a report from the New York Post, many in the crypto sector are feeling optimistic about the forthcoming policy changes that could lend legitimacy to cryptocurrencies. The prospects of an immediate executive order is particularly enticing, as these could facilitate the creation of a Bitcoin reserve and put an end to the continuous practices of debanking, where financial institutions refuse to collaborate with clients involved in cryptocurrency ventures. The anticipated cessation of debanking is viewed as essential for the industry. By allowing banks to engage with digital assets, this policy shift could help restore confidence inside the market space, a confidence that has been severely tested in recent years inside the crypto space, where banks and crypto companies weren't on the same page, only in America. Outside the US, banks and crypto companies were on the same page, depending on what crypto project it was. For example, XRP was on the same page with banks outside the US, but now inside the US also. As Ripple stated themselves, they signed more contracts within the last 6 weeks than they did in the last 6 months in America. Progress like essential throughout Biden's tenure, the cryptocurrency landscape has been marred by what means described as regulatory harassment from the SEC. Programs like Operation Chokepoint 2.0 aim to limit banks' essential interactions with crypto firms, stifling innovation and discouraging startups from entering the market space. Notable investors, including Nick Carter and Mark Anderson, have voiced concerns labeling these measures as prioritized sanctions that have forced numerous crypto companies to relocate across essentially overseas or abandon their projects altogether. Nick Carter pointed out that the inherent optimism essentially in banking decisions, stating banks never tell you why they're debanking you, which often leads to vague claims of risk. This lack of transparency has had an impact, leading the industry state of stagnation on startups and struggling to gain tractions. As the crypto community looks forward to a potential pro-crypto initiatives proposed by the incoming administration, one particular suggestion has initiated essentially a debate: the establishment of America's first street reserve that prioritizes US-based digital currencies, including notable tokens like Solana and XRP. Now, the reason why they're saying Solana and XRP is going to be a part of this whole Bitcoin reserve or this crypto portfolio that the US is thinking about doing is because they're American companies. And Trump is all about American companies. And his new thing is blockchain. He loves the idea of blockchain. He loves the idea of innovating in blockchain. He wants to make America the capital of cryptocurrencies. So you can see how much essentially a passion he has towards blockchain. He's created 3 NFT projects. So on that topic, the New York Post has claimed, according to sources, that Trump is not only going to be creating a Bitcoin reserve, but is going to be creating a crypto portfolio for the United States of America. As the crypto community prepares for the potential transformation under Trump's leadership, the possibility of a more supportive regulatory framework looms at large. The coming months will be crucial in determining how these anticipated changes will shape the future of digital assets in America, and with the promise of reversing previous constraints and fostering an environment to innovation, industry players are hopeful that this could mark the beginning of a new chapter for cryptocurrencies like XRP and beyond. So it is genuinely something that I said a while ago that every nation should look into, which is essentially a cryptocurrency reserve, not just a Bitcoin reserve. Now, obviously, Bitcoin maxis are not too happy about this. Bitcoin maxis are furious. There was a few Bitcoin maxis that came out. Essentially, the founder of the Bitcoin Blockchain Association came out and said, it's absurd, for Trump to be creating some sort of a crypto reserve. Why is Trump thinking about creating a crypto reserve? He should be creating a Bitcoin reserve. Look, it's not all about Bitcoin, okay? I'm sorry to the Bitcoin maxis. Look, it's not all about Bitcoin. Get off your high horse. It's about fixing an entire economy. And Bitcoin isn't going to be the only solution to fix the economy for the United States or fix any country's economy. A multitude of crypto assets, buying them at cheaper prices now would fix a economy later on, not overnight, over time. So honestly, Bitcoin maxis need to get off their horses. It's not just about the Bitcoin group anymore. It's about fixing the economy. If you want to fix the economy, a crypto reserve makes a lot more sense than just a Bitcoin reserve. To be fairly honest, it's just common sense at that point. Now, and I hope he does do it. I hope Trump does create a crypto reserve instead of just a Bitcoin reserve. But if he does, what can I say? I'll be right again. Now, let's go to the comment section first before we go for the next news. As I said previously, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. Be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's go to the comment section first, and then we go straight into the next news, which is also related to Trump, but it's more related to CBDCs. But let's go to the comment section first. Let's see what's going on there. So let's see where we were also at. We were at here. Hello, bro. Justice for XRP. Let's go, Chozo. English. Okay. Good evening, Miles. One question. When XRP got the market cap explosion, is XRP going to get out of the crypto markets? Interesting question. When when XRP got the market cap explosion, is XRP going to get out of the crypto markets? Look, I think I know what you're referring to. So this is something that I said. I said that it's something I've been saying for over 2 years now. That I said we're going to get to a stage when we have regulations. I've always said when we have regulations, that adoption can slowly start on the regulations, because there's no more gray areas for banks and institutions to be able to operate so they don't get sued by the CFTC or the SEC. Now, I've always said that there's going to be a time where essentially certain crypto projects will detach themselves from Bitcoin. The idea of crypto projects following Bitcoin for the rest of eternity is ludicrous. There's going to be a lot of crypto projects that are going to stop following Bitcoin's footpath, because it's ludicrous to be following it for eternity. Because a lot of crypto projects have their own contracts in place, have their own developments in place, have their own licenses in place, and they're going to become operational within those contracts they have going on for over years now. So once obviously the rules and regulations kick in, you're going to see projects like, as I said, XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, AVAX, TON, a lot of crypto projects near and so on. They're all going to start, detaching themselves from Bitcoin, is what I've been always saying. So that's what you're referring to. Yes, that is going to be happening. My point of view, that's also going to start happening this year. This year is where we're going to be seeing this whole detaching situation from Bitcoin. Now, not every crypto project is going to detach itself from Bitcoin, but projects that have actual utility use cases are going to detach themselves from Bitcoin. Projects that have utility cases, projects that have contracts in place, developments in place, and licensing in place, they're the ones that are going to benefit the most on the rules and regulations. They're going to detach themselves from Bitcoin. It's something that's going to be happening no matter what. And as much as the Bitcoin maxis don't like hearing it or don't want to tell other people about this scenario, but it is in play and it's in motion right now, slowly. That a lot of crypto projects are going to be detaching themselves from Bitcoin, because the contracts, for example, that XRP has in place, Bitcoin doesn't have in place. So it makes zero sense when XRP is adapted under regulations by banks and institutions to be following Bitcoin's footsteps of when Bitcoin goes up and feeds in, bull market goes up, feeds into the altcoins. None of that scenario is going to be playing about anymore. The scenario of, Bitcoin cycle, of everybody following Bitcoin cycle, is bull-ass. It's come to an end. The simplest way to put it is come to an end. Because going into regulations is about going into adoption utility, which was the main point of cryptocurrencies. The main point of cryptocurrencies wasn't buy, sell, quick profit. It was utility. And we're now getting to the stage of utility. And the more we go into regulations, the more we go towards utility. The more essentially the adoption part is going to be essentially starting and going into motion. So when XRP is being used, for example, by SBI Bank, and it's being utilized within the Japanese banking systems and the Asian banking systems, Bitcoin is not going to be utilized in the same way of doing transactions. So it makes zero sense for XRP to be still following the footsteps of Bitcoin. At that point, it's just common sense. Because Bitcoin is going to be utilized the way XRP is going to be utilized in the banking system. And this reference, let's just say SBI. It just doesn't make any sense for Bitcoin to be, essentially for XRP to be following. And also the idea of, Bitcoin goes up and feeds into the altcoins is, an old idea. It doesn't work anymore, because now we have Bitcoin ETFs. And because of Bitcoin ETFs, neither does the retail section want to sell, or the institutions want to sell their Bitcoin ETFs to feed into the altcoins. There's something from the past. We're in a completely different ballgame, which I've been saying for about 2 years. We're going to go into a complete different ballgame at one point once the regulations start kicking in. And it's something that I've said for the past 2 years. It's something that Grayscale said going into this year. Their analysts said the exact same thing. It's also what Bloomberg analysts said. We're going into a different ballgame. It's also what JP Morgan's analyst Nicholas said. It's also what Morgan Stanley's analyst said. Standard Chartered Bank's analyst said. We're going into a different ballgame. It's no longer the same cycles everybody's used to. We're going into regulations and adoption, utility, and so on. So detaching is eventable. It's going to be happening 100%. The cycle of following Bitcoin for eternity for crypto projects has come to an end. The more we go towards this Trump presidency, the more we go towards regulations, the cycle of following Bitcoin's footsteps has come to an end. And you're already starting to see signs of that. When Bitcoin is down and the whole market is down, what's up? XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR. Why? Because they're financial projects. Why does that matter? Because we're going into regulations. Now, why does that matter? Because regulations is useful for banks and institutions to be able to operate in a regulated market space, so they don't operate in gray areas no more, where they get sued by the CFTC and FTC, by the CFTC and SEC, because they don't know where the line is in gray areas. So that's why it's important. And you're already seeing that sign of detachment. When everything is down, when Bitcoin is down, the entire market is down. What's up? XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR. It's because we're going into regulations. Financial projects matter, and you're already starting to see signs of that. Now, hello, Miles and CMF. I hope you had a good day. Scott, hope you had a good day as well. Morning, Miles and CMF. Shelly, good to see you as well. How you doing, Shelly? How you been? Trump is a businessman. I bet he adds XRP to the reserves. It's one of the most valuable assets out there. It would be crazy if he didn't. I agree 100%, Stormy. I agree 100%. The only resign so they can keep their benefits. Yeah, the only reason Gary Gensler and Rostam Benham, CFTC chairman, and the FDIC chairman resigned is in most cases to maybe keep some dignity if there's any left. Also, happy Pisces, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good morning, Miles and CMF. Ghost Burner, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles. Richard, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? He hasn't taken his seat, and we're already sitting on profits. Probably, lol. Yeah, honestly, the idea of essentially Trump coming in is incredible, because there's so many news articles right now coming out and trying to diminish Trump's movements inside the market space and so on. I mean, the guy hasn't even came in yet and taken his seat, and yeah, we're seeing profits already. Trump hasn't even taken his seat. We're seeing profits inside the crypto space. We're seeing the SEC chairman willingly resigning. Gary Gensler willingly resigning. We're seeing CFTC chairman willingly resigning. FDIC chairman willingly resigning. We're seeing profits inside the crypto space. The movements we're seeing already is a teaser of what to come. But some journalists try to diminish. I'm guessing the journalists work for Senator Elizabeth Warren. Miles, they are clearly listening to you. That's exactly what you said 48 hours ago. I did. That's true. CMF, are we still having our party in Dubai this or next year? We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but we're definitely going to have a party, without a doubt. I was thinking more on the lines of Monaco would be better. Sorry, Miles, late on again. I hate it because I do not want to miss anything. Adi, good to see you. How you doing? Morning, Miles and CMF. Glad to see you all again. Solomon, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? We have all been manifesting CMF Dubai party for a year now. Lol. Even in Miles and CMF saws I'm late today. Joe, no problem. Good to see how you doing. Hi from Malaysia. Shakira, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Miles and his crystal ball again. Let's go, Shelly. If someone really believes in crypto, they know this all FUD out there is a sign of we are entering into becoming financially free, a part of crypto. Facts. Absolute facts. Miles, Funky, and I want to know if you're a time traveler. Is that how you know all this information? Am I a time traveler? Is that how I know all this information? I will neither confirm or deny that. Do they want to wash money for another country? You never know in that sense. Absolutely right, Miles. Let's go, Adi. CMF, please go over to X and comment outside of the live to help Miles get the word out to the people. Also like one of those comments and put an emoji on the members' comments. Thanks. Yes, facts. If you already haven't done it, go like, retweet, and comment outside the live on this live to spread this live and, help more people out. Facts. Let's go, Shelly. Apparently, if you're fired as a government employee, you could not repay to another. You cannot essentially reapply to another government job. Monaco sounds better. Let's go, Pablo. Okay. The next news we are going to be covering on tonight's live is Trump, but CBDCs, relatable. So Trump's potential, essentially, Treasury Secretary pick has come out and said there is no reason, basically he sees no reason for a US CBDC. Scott Bessent, the US President-elect Donald Trump's anticipated pick for the country's Treasury Secretary, faced senators in a hearing to explain his position on financial issues. The hearing of the U.S. Senate Committee on Finance, Benson responded to questions from Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn regarding a U.S. central bank digital currency, CBDC. The Tennessee lawmaker brought up Chinese officials introducing the digital yuan to foreign attendees at the 2022 Olympics and asked how Benson could handle a potential digital dollar if officially nominated and confirmed in the Senate. He said, "I see no reason for the US to have a central bank digital currency," said Benson. In my mind, a central bank digital currency is for countries who have no other investment alternatives. Many of these countries are doing it out of necessity, whereas the US, if you hold US dollars, you can hold a variant of very essentially secure US assets. The hearing noted that Benson's questioning was based on his anticipated nomination by Trump to be the next Treasury Secretary. As the president-elect is not scheduled to be essentially until January 20th, a former partner at the hedge firm Soros Fund Management and donor to Trump's campaign, Benson reportedly made several statements suggesting he supported the US government's efforts to promote crypto. In May, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives passed the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act largely along party lines. The legislation would prohibit the Federal Reserve banks from issuing CBDCs directly or indirectly. The Senate Banking Committee received the bill from the House, and in June 2024, it's unclear if or when the Senate will revisit the legislation following Republicans taking control of the chamber in January. So the question does remain, are we going to be having essentially a CBDC in America or not? The answer to that question of is a CBDC going to be happening in America is yes. There's not, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, there's not a single country that can essentially reject a CBDC. There's not a single president, prime minister, politician, senator, government member, any member of government that can reject the idea of a CBDC, okay? Every country is getting a CBDC. It doesn't matter who says no, it's happening either way. Because we are talking about the World Economic Forum, we are talking about the International Monetary Fund and the Bank of International Settlements, who are trying to push this agenda of CBDCs. And you cannot say no to the International Monetary Fund, you can't say no to the Bank of International Settlements, and you definitely as hell can't say no to the World Economic Forum. And God knows who's behind those people. So CBDCs are happening either way. As much as countries come out and say no, this and that. I'll give you an example. Philippines, for example, one country. Philippines decided to come out and say there's no need for a CBDC. The Bank of International Settlements flies over to the Philippines, has a sit down with them behind closed doors. The Philippines comes out about a week later and goes, we're doing a CBDC. They went from there's no point of a CBDC to now we're doing a CBDC. Vietnam decides to come out and says there's no point of a CBDC. The International Monetary Fund flies out to Vietnam, has a sit down behind closed doors. About a week later, Vietnam comes out and goes, we're doing a CBDC. Few Latin American countries came out and said there's no point of a CBDC. Same scenario. International Monetary Fund flies out, does a meeting behind closed doors. They also come out and say, we're doing a CBDC. There's no way of saying no to a CBDC. It doesn't matter if you're a president, prime minister, or a politician, or a government member, or a senator, or a congress member, whoever you are. Nobody can say no to a CBDC. Now, there's also where they can change the name of a CBDC. Let's make it sound more appealing. I'll give you another scenario. For example, Brazil decided to call their CBDC Drex because they said, why do we call it CBDC? We should call it Drex. Now, obviously, Drex stands for something, but they said, we don't want to. What they're trying to do in the most simplest term is shift the idea of a CBDC, because CBDC now, if a lot of people have caught on to the idea of the government's creating this controlled environment in this digital world. A lot of people have caught on to that idea. And whenever someone says CBDCs, they instantly think about control. So they decided to change the name to make it more appealing. Brazil is calling it Drix or Drax. For example, also Bahrain. The Central Bank of Bahrain was doing a meeting where they invited central bank members over from every nation. And the Central Bank of Bahrain's head went on stage and in front of other bank members from all around the world said, why do we call it CBDC? We should just call it money. Why do we put this CBDC phrase on it and give the assumption of something else? This is just money. So we should stop calling it CBDC and just call it money. So what I'm trying to say is they might be trying to pass some bogus, essentially, in this case, the CBDC Surveillance Act, trying to pass it through Congress and so on. But they're actually changing how they're essentially calling it out as well. So watch out for the phrases, basically what I'm trying to say. Or social credit systems. Social credit systems are no longer called social credit systems. They're called carbon footprints. Now, carbon footprints also meant something else a while ago, but now they're also factoring in social credit systems under carbon footprints. Carbon footprints used to be for companies and mega corporations and organizations and so on, leaving that carbon footprint behind. But now they're trying to mix in the word social credit system under carbon footprint for human beings as well. But yeah, nobody can stop a CBDC. It doesn't matter if it's president, senator, prime minister, anybody. It could be anybody. Nobody's stopping a CBDC. And they'll change it and twist it and do whatever they can to push that CBDC agenda and make it happen. Now, here is a crypto project that we don't ever talk about, and it's Litecoin. The last time I talked about Litecoin was probably 2 years ago, but something has came out regarding Litecoin and Bitcoin and ETFs, which is this. Litecoin ETF could attract up to $580 million of inflows and adoption, and it mirrors that of Bitcoin ETFs. Now, this is a perspective coming in from a mega corporation. While Litecoin essentially ETFs is still essentially only theoretical, investors' demand for the product could soar as high as $580 million. If Wall Street adapts it at the same rate it did with LTC, better known as the cousin of Bitcoin, that calculation is based on roughly 6% of Bitcoin's total supply now blocked up in a variety of ETFs. Similar essentially performance by LTC products would essentially yield more than $500 million of inflows for the token, which has a similar proof of work consensus and mechanisms to of that BTC. These possibilities came into focus essentially as the market participants began seizing up the likelihood of an LTC might become the third crypto asset to get its own ETF inside the United States after Bitcoin Ethereum. Carry Capital, a new digital asset focused on investment firms founded essentially by former Valkyrie Funds co-founder Steven, is best positioned to issue such a product. It got the ball rolling on essentially a Litecoin ETF in October, and Nasdaq Stock Exchange filed also a 19B/- 4 document with the Securities Exchange Commission, officially putting the regulators on the clock to make a decision. Bloomberg essentially experts expect LTC to gather some sort of SEC approval, giving industry chatter. He said he's been hearing Litecoin's similar tech spaces to Bitcoin may also prove a factor, assuming their resilience on proof of work consensus and mechanisms, and spells a better likelihood of being considered a commodity. The question is whether there is enough investor demand to make Litecoin a fund a success or not. Even if demand is essentially up, essentially or low, it could still seem some sort of demand is there. James, essentially a ETF analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence, said, just because of the success, it won't be as crazy as the Bitcoin or even Ethereum ETFs. It doesn't mean that it can't be successful. The market investors will make their determinations by themselves, and the Bitcoin ETFs still have set unprecedented records in their first year of tradings, with the BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Fund IBIT and become the most successful launch of history in terms of Bitcoin ETFs. Look, the simplest way I could put it, and also, there has been a perspective from JP Morgan as well. The key question here remains the uncertainties of investors' demands for additional products and whether the new crypto ETFs launches will matter, said JP Morgan's analyst Kenneth. Now, the simplest thing I could possibly say is that the next ETF is not going to be Litecoin. Now, we might get a Litecoin ETF somewhere down the road, but the next ETF isn't going to be a Litecoin ETF. It's going to be an XRP ETF. There are 5 filings, or 4 to 5 filings for XRP ETFs. There are Solana ETF filings as well. There's a few other filings from other crypto projects. There's HBAR filings from ETF as well. But the next filing, the next essentially approval we're going to be getting is an XRP ETF. Mark my words. XRP ETF isn't, if an XRP ETF is not going to be the next ETF, it's going to be, either way, we're going to be having, is what I'm trying to say. Either way, we're going to be having an XRP ETF this year. 2025 is the year of XRP. 2025 is the year XRP's case gets dismissed or settled. 2025 is the year XRP essentially gets an ETF. 2025 is the year that we're going to see XRP thrive even more on the regulations compared to other crypto projects. Now, moving on essentially from the ETF, what could be possibly the next ETF on board, to a company that's following MicroStrategy's footsteps. So going back to Bitcoin for this scenario, a company that's following MicroStrategy's footsteps. So MicroStrategy's footsteps is basically buy Bitcoin at any price point, raise money as much as you can for your company by selling some sort of bonds, and then buying Bitcoin. Obviously, that comes with some sort of high-risk scenarios as well. But here's another company that's followed MicroStrategy's footsteps. Communal Banks has raised $75 million in Bitcoin from Blockstream Capital Partners. Communal, a prominent digital asset custody firm, has raised $75 million in Bitcoin investments in a Series B funding round from Blockstream Capital Partners. This investment is important for the outfit and will help the company expand internationally. According to announcements, the firm intends to use the funds to improve its operations, grow its presence worldwide, and enhance its capabilities. Meanwhile, Communal, a joint venture essentially between Norma, a Japanese financial giant, has become an important custodian for high-quality essentially digital assets. With the new funding, Communal will build this infrastructure to meet the increasing demand from institutions for secure and regulated crypto custody services. Notably, it plans to establish its own Bitcoin treasury. The company manages the Bitcoin provided by Blockstream Capital. Communal will also essentially improve its skills in managing Bitcoin and use this experience to offer customized solutions for institutional clients. Meanwhile, Blockstream's CEO and co-founder Adam Black will join the board of directors at Communal as a part of investment deals. Also, two other Blockstream executives, Peter essentially and Nicholas, will join the Communal board as well. Their experience and leaderships will help Communal grow. With this investment and new board members, Communal will expand and offer institutional clients the security and trust they need in changing the market and changing the crypto markets. Intriguingly, essentially, Communal boasts of industry's leading services designed by security financials and crypto experts. It's just, honestly, there is a lot of companies now following MicroStrategy's footsteps, to be fairly honest. And MicroStrategy is very lucky for that happening, because MicroStrategy needs a lot of companies to start buying Bitcoin, because they're banking on the idea of a Bitcoin reserve. If a Bitcoin reserve doesn't happen, then MicroStrategy has bet on the wrong horse. I'll be fairly honest, because they have raised quite a lot of money through bonds, which they have to pay back at some certain point of a date and timeline, essentially. But another company has just came forward and followed MicroStrategy's footsteps by raising $75 million to essentially worth of Bitcoin purchases in terms of series fundings and Series B round fundings and so on. But yeah, another company following MicroStrategy's footsteps. Now, moving on essentially from another company following MicroStrategy's footsteps to Senator Luminous. Senator Cynthia Luminous coming forward and talking about the FDIC. Apparently, according to Senator Cynthia Luminous, the FDIC has been destroying documents. Now, these are documents related to Operation Choke Point 2.0, which includes most likely conversations with Senator Elizabeth Warren, or in this case, Gary Gensler as well. Now, the reason why I say there's most likely there's conversations between Senator Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler with the FDIC, because there definitely is, because they're all in the same Operation Choke Point 2.0. If you're not fully aware of Operation Choke Point 2.0, the operation was mainly based on the idea of trying to stifle American banks from working with crypto companies. The FDIC basically did the best they could to stop American banks from working with crypto companies, and also stop American citizens from buying cryptocurrencies. So if you were struggling for a time period to buy cryptocurrencies through your American banks because your banks would reject crypto companies, it was because the FDIC was telling American banks they're not allowed in a way to accept essentially their customers buying crypto payments or even accept crypto clients in any sort of a way. And it turns out the FDIC is trying to destroy documents. They're getting rid of documents between employees, between executive board members about Operation Choke Point 2.0, which is basically Operation Stop the US Growth. So Senator Cynthia Luminous is fuming right now. I would also, because we want to stop these types of behaviors inside of politics. Senator Cynthia Luminous has threatened criminal referrals for FDIC staff allegedly involved in destroying documents linked to Operation Choke Point, essentially 2.0. Whistleblowers of the US Federal Deposit Insurance Corporations have alerted policymakers. There are people inside of the FDIC who have alerted, essentially, official members telling them that, hey, I work at FDIC and there are people burning documents. So whistleblowers at the US Federal Deposit Insurance Corporations, FDIC, have alerted policymakers to alleged efforts within the agency to withhold and destroy information regarding what industry advocates have dubbed as anti-crypto campaign. And I'll bet you any money, if they stop the burning, they'll probably find documents about Senator Elizabeth Warren talking about how to stifle cryptocurrencies with Gary Gensler with the FDIC on board. The initiative, referred to as Operation Choke Point 2.0, or essentially OCP 2.0, involves a multi-agency crackdown of crypto businesses, with the primary goal of denying the essentially sector access to banking services. A letter addressed to the FDIC chairman, Morty, today was sent by Cynthia Luminous. Cynthia Luminous right now is fuming. She sent the letter to the FDIC, essentially, chairman of Wyoming, and warned the agency staff against tampering with essentially documents related to OCP 2.0. This FDIC situation, if it gets essentially, fully blown over, it's going to become bigger than the whole Binance case, because it's a US department that controls banks and tells them what to do, deleting and burning documents. It's basically fraud, and the most simplest way to put it. And it's an entire US department that's committing fraud right now. They're trying to hide or destroy any documents related to stifling crypto operations in America. And there are news journalists coming out and saying, we don't believe, Trump is going to bring positivity for the crypto space. Trump hasn't even taken his seat yet, and there are government members burning documents about stifling crypto. Luminous promised essentially a criminal referrals for anyone found involved in the allegations, and demanded essentially the preservation of all relevant materials, including those related to the wind downs of Signature Bank and Silvergate Bank. Notably, the chairman has already announced, the chairman of the FDIC has already announced his resignation ahead of the incoming Trump administration. Of course, the FDIC chairman is going to resign before Trump comes in. I have also been informed by whistleblowers that staff access to these materials is being closely monitored by management to prevent them from being supplied to the Senate before they can be destroyed, that certain staff have been threatened with legal action to prevent them from speaking out. Imagine that one. Someone has told Senator Cynthia Luminous that within the FDIC, there are people right now being threatened. People that are working in the FDIC, normal employees that are working in the FDIC, are being threatened that if they tell senators, congress members, any politician on what they're doing in the FDIC, about Operation Choke Point 2.0, they're being threatened with legal action if they speak out of how much fraud is happening in the FDIC. If anybody, as an employee of the FDIC, talks about the fraud that's happening in the FDIC, legal action will be taken against them, is what they're being threatened by as an employee. I have also, this is just crazy. This is illegal and unacceptable. It is majorly illegal. You are directed to ensure your staff cease and desist, essentially destruction of all materials, and end all retaliation against it immediately. If it is uncovered that you or your staff have knowingly destroyed materials or sought to obstruct the oversight functions of the Senate, it will result in swift criminal referrals to the U.S. Department of Justice. Senator Cynthia Luminous to the FDIC chair, the battle over OCP 2.0 related documents has been continuous. An issue between essentially the FDIC and crypto participants. Giants like Coinbase have sued the agency for access to files, including the so-called pause letters, which allegedly directed essentially financial institutions to debank crypto businesses. It is true, because of the lawsuit between Coinbase and the essentially FDIC, Coinbase was able to get documents, squeeze documents out of the FDIC. Some of these documents stated that they told banks not to work with crypto companies, the pause letters, in other words. A judge ordered the FDIC to submit relative documents. However, Coinbase argued that the provided information was heavily redacted, and it was. The documents that the FDIC sent over to Coinbase, because the judge told them they have to, the documents that they sent over to Coinbase to read, the FDIC blanked out most of those documents. A second court order had the federal agency for bad faith practices related to the case and demanded that the FDIC engage in full cooperations. The judge came forward and said, what are these documents you're handing into Coinbase? Why are they so blank? Please provide the actual documents in full, because now you're just operating in bad faith. The latest turnover from the FDIC revealed an attempt to cover up OCP 2.0 as the agency surprisingly released more documents after the court's scrutiny, according to Coinbase's CLO, Paul. So, it seems like a lot of people are about to go to prison if this turns out to be, if they do find some sort of evidence against it. So, Senator Cynthia Luminis has sent a letter across right now to the chairman of the FDIC, stating if we are, essentially, we find any sort of evidence of you doing these things, burning documents that, essentially shows conspirator fraud in the FDIC, burning documents related to essentially stifling crypto corporations in America, or crypto clients, or crypto retail people, or burning documents related to essentially back and forth between the FDIC and other members of governments, or even finding out you've been threatening your employees at the FDIC with legal action if they talk about what's happened inside the FDIC with all the fraud that's going on, then it's going to be a very, well, let's just say, they're going to have a field day with the FDIC chairman, especially in prison. Now, moving on essentially from the FDIC situation that's going on. This is amazing to see, by the way, honestly. Incredible to see that, the tables are so turned right now that we're sitting on the money side and the positive side now because of Trump. If you're inside the crypto space, you're sitting in the positive seat right now. You're smiling every day because the market is shining. And everything's just happy. And on the other side, who stifled us for about 4 to 5 years, is now feeling the burn and burning documents and going mental by the looks of it. Now, moving on essentially from the FDIC to Solana. Now, for the oddest reason, whenever anything good comes out about XRP, they have to throw in Solana in the mix. So, for example, JP Morgan's analysts come out and say, we think XRP is going to go flying this year. And then they say, and Solana. Or another analyst essentially from Goldman Sachs comes out and goes, XRP is going to do excellent this year, and Solana. They keep on throwing Solana in the mix. Now, this is the first time they haven't thrown Solana in the mix, but this one's relatable to Solana. So here it is. Solana ETFs may take until 2026 a Bloomberg intelligence perspective. Now, you might be thinking, essentially a Bloomberg intelligence perspective, who cares? It doesn't mean it's, a high probability. It is. Because it's not just anybody from Bloomberg. It's James. And essentially the other member of Bloomberg who have been incredibly correct on timelines. So here it is. Solana ETFs may not launch in the United States until 2026. Even under a crypto-friendly White House, says James. James is an essentially intelligence analyst, ETF Bloomberg specialist analyst, and he said today, issuers might see movement on essentially the lavishing Solana ETF filings after President-elect Donald Trump takes office on January 20th. James said during an interview essentially with Blockworks. However, the timeline could extend into 2026 due to the SEC's precedent of taking essentially 240 to 260 days to review filings. The review process is further complicated by the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission's ongoing lawsuits against cryptocurrency exchanges alleging Solana and constitutes as an unregistered security, he said. The SEC's Division of Enforcement is calling Solana a security. Yes, a lot of people only think that the only crypto project in the crypto space is called a securities XRP, XRP is not the only crypto project named security by SEC. There's actually a multitude of crypto projects that are named essentially securities by the SEC in the same category. So the SEC division of enforcement is calling Solana essentially a security, which prevents other SEC divisions from analyzing it as a commodity for the ETF. Trump, who has now promised to turn the US into the world of crypto capital, plans to tap industry-friendly leaders to head key financial regulators, including the SEC. Under President Joe Biden, the SEC has taken aggressive regulatory stance towards crypto, bringing hundreds of actions against essentially industries. And in 2024, the agency authorized issuers to list spot Bitcoin essentially and Ethereum ETFs in January and July. And however, other ETF applications, including several proposed spot essentially Solana ETFs, are not doing too well for themselves right now, but a bunch of Solana ETF filings essentially were made but weren't acknowledged by the SEC. They were effectively denied outright, said essentially James. In 2024, asset managers submitted a flurry of regulatory filings to list ETFs holding altcoins, including Sol, XRP, and Litecoin, among others. And issuers are also waiting on approval for several planned essentially crypto ETFs designed to hold diverse baskets of digital tokens, the mixture of crypto ETFs that are coming from a few essentially companies out there. In effect, these findings were all essentially call options on Trump's victory in the US presidential race. And Eric, who is another Bloomberg ETF specialist analyst, also went on to say, not everyone shares James's view. In November, Matthew essentially Vannick's head of digital assets research said the odds of a Solana ETF listing in the US before the end of 2025 are actually high of a chance of happening. Look, what I would say is, obviously, it doesn't mean 100% a Solana ETF can only happen in 2026. But, you know, James and Eric are incredible analysts. James and Eric are incredible analysts, especially Eric compared to James, but they're both incredible analysts from Bloomberg, and everybody on Wall Street listens to Bloomberg like it's gospel. You know how the entire world listens to Jerome Powell when he comes out and talks about the market space in America, and the market goes either up or down based on what Jerome Powell says. Well, Bloomberg is like that for Wall Street. So is Jerome Powell for Wall Street, but Bloomberg is also a market shifter for Wall Street. If Bloomberg comes out and says something bad about any company or any crypto project, that project starts to slide downwards a little bit. So that's the power Bloomberg has on Wall Street. The same way Jerome Powell has that power on everyone. But these two analysts, Eric and James, Eric especially is an incredible analyst from Bloomberg, and he is the one that's guessed pretty much all the timelines, and they're all matched up. The Bitcoin ETF timeline for each ETF, this man got it pretty much right. And other ETFs as well, to be fairly honest. But in general, they're both incredible analysts from Bloomberg. So I wouldn't take it with a grain of salt. I would consider it an outcome that a Solana ETF could be on the verge of 2026 rather than 2025. But it can still happen in 2025. But, Now, going back to Senator Cynthia Luminous and moving on from the Solana ETF to Senator Cynthia Luminous, because Senator Cynthia Luminous has came out and questioned the US's decision to sell the seized 70,000 Silk Road BTC. Because for the most oddly reason, as we're coming into a Trump presidency, first the DOJ gives a green light to the Bitcoin reserves, which means they can sell their Bitcoins. Then, out of nowhere, it comes out the US government is thinking about giving back the 69,000 Bitcoins to essentially the exchange that was compromised, which was hacked a while ago, a few years back, but they decided to think about giving their money back now to them. It just odd. You could say coincidence, but it's more like coordinated or stifling, you could say, because at the exact same time, Trump coming in, pro-crypto, pro-blockchain, and so on, DOJ greenlights Bitcoin sellings of Silk Road. DOJ greenlights giving back Bitcoin to the exchanges that got compromised, and so on. So she's basically saying, why now? Why now? Because you could have done this last year or the year before or the year before that. Now, before we go through that news, let's go to the comment section first. As I said previously, this is a live show, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Now, let's consider the comment section first before we go through the Senator Cynthia Luminous news. Let's consider the comment section first. So let's see where we are at. We are at here. Don't let it go. Don't let it go to your head. You're not the president-in-law. I appreciate that, Shelley. I think everyone was planned. I think everything was planned from the start. They did all this on purpose to hide the real asset from the retail, and I mean everything, even Gary Gensler, because today only 0.1% of the population own XRP. It's true, they do. But I think it could be a second outcome where it was planned in a way where it was to actually stifle growth. So obviously one of the outcomes is that there's so many outcomes in play, because we are talking about very, very twisted people. The people that act like gods in this world. There are people who actually believe they're gods in this world. They might be mental patients, but they actually believe they're gods in this world because they have so much power and so much money and so much influence that they actually think they're gods. And they do play some sort of role in making sure where the world goes and what direction and so on. But there's so many factors in play, so many outcomes in play. And one of the outcomes has always been, this was all a big plan. Gary Gensler was a big plan. SEC scenario going after Ripple was to essentially stifle the retail section and so on. But then there's the other outcome was, this is a genuine case. This is a case about essentially the SEC and some organizations and some government members coming together to stifle from the change that's about to be happening inside the banking system. And then there's also the other outcome, essentially, where it could be a China scenario as well, where for the longest time, China has been trying to, replace the United States. China has tried everything to become number one, everything they can within their power to become number one. But they always struggle at the last minute. China has always tried to become number one, but the moment they get close to the finishing line, they get tossed back to the start. And this normally happens every time Trump comes in, which is odd because every time, America tries to strengthen itself with Trump presidency, China releases a virus, which slows down the entire world so that Trump can't fix America. But again, this also has the outcome of treason around it as well, where if America stops growing, China continues to grow. And US politicians, hear me out, as an outcome, not the outcome, but as an outcome, because there's so many outcomes on the table. Again, we are talking about twisted people who think they're gods, who control how we live in every single way. So hear me out. China, for example, has tried its best to, make it to number one and replace the US as much as it possibly can. So I'm thinking about how to word it before I say it. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that the people that are in control of America are acting like treasons. Because if you have any sort of intelligence, if you look at what the Biden administration has done, is ruin America, genuinely ruin America, the Biden administration. That's all they've done. For the past 4 years, they've damaged the US economy where the US is standing on its last leg. In terms of everything, the US is standing on its last leg. Now, just by a Trump victory, the US started to grow a little bit. They started to grow. The excitement was back. We're going to make money. Wall Street got excited. Corporations got excited. There's a lot of excitement happening because of Trump presidency and so on. And then again, China's thinking about releasing another COVID 2.0. As just about America's about to, climb that ladder again, China is going to release a COVID scenario to even the playing field. So in my point of view, there's also the outcome of a country like China or something decided to stifle American growth so they can grow instead, because they're the competitors. The main competitors in this world is US versus China. in terms of technology, in terms of innovation, in terms of GDP, in terms of everything, is China versus US. So in the last 4 years, it genuinely seemed like treason, because it made no sense on why a US president and an entire administration not just stifled crypto, putting that to one side, but stifled everything. Why did a US president and an entire administration, Biden administration, increase crime in the US? Now, there are scenarios of that as well. Why did they increase crime? Why did they open the borders? Why did they let this happen? Why did they let that happen? Back-to-back scenarios of just damaging the US economy day by day. And on the side, stifling innovation in terms of technological growth or crypto growth or blockchain growth or whatever growth. But back-to-back every day. So there's always that scenario of an outcome of, did another country have some sort of a hand in American politics? Did another government have some sort of a hand in American politics? Because it makes no sense. As a president and an entire administration, all of you, day by day, stifling America's growth, doing everything in your power to ruin America since the beginning of your presidency until now. And now we have Trump obviously coming in to fix America, and China is thinking about releasing a new virus. Coincidence or coordinated? Because the last time Trump came in to fix America, a COVID virus comes out of nowhere from China, and America's growth stops like the rest of the world's. Now Trump's coming into power again. China's thinking about releasing a new virus to, again, what? Stop America's growth. But then again, is that new virus because of a CBDC scenario? There are so many scenarios in play. It's absolutely crazy. So many scenarios in play, because the next pandemic we're going to be having, is it because to bring in the CBDCs? Because the issue with the CBDC releasement is that people might protest and run to the banks and take out their money, which was a topic that was discussed by the Bank of International Settlements, where the Bank of International Settlements members said, we're afraid to release CBDCs in case people run to the banks and take out their cash, which will cause a bank crash in every country. So they said, we need to stop people from going to the banks when you release a CBDC and stop people from taking cash. So if they do a COVID scenario where everybody's trapped at home, nobody can protest when CBDCs have been released. There's so many scenarios in play because it's all twisted and manipulated on a large scale. You know, even the first COVID with the Trump stifling, and also, you know, the first COVID was when the World Bank was doing testings on blockchain, was successful. Then COVID comes out of nowhere. People start moving out of cash. Banks and cash points are, you know, essentially closing down one by one. And then on one side, they're telling you CBDCs, you know, we're not going to release CBDCs. Every country comes out and goes, who said we're going to have CBDCs? CBDCs, even if they do come out alongside cash, they'll work alongside cash. But we don't even have CBDCs yet. They're closing down banks and cash points, and every restaurant bar around you doesn't accept cash anyways anymore. And we don't even have CBDCs yet. They're telling us either CBDCs won't come, or CBDCs, even if they do, it's going to work alongside cash. We don't even have CBDCs. And a lot of places don't accept cash anymore. Banks have closed down most of them, and so is cash points. So the level of manipulation is crazy from every angle. Honestly, the level of manipulation is ridiculously high. I think I worded it pretty good. But the good thing is, I mean, if you're, there's a positive to every scenario. If you're on XRP, you're good to go. If you're on, you know, the financial projects, you're going to be the backbone of this CBDC world and this social, and this basically social credit system world. So yeah, regarding, you know, I think everything is planned from the start. Yeah, it is 100%. It is. World Economic Forum are the biggest gangsters. They make you an offer you can't refuse. It's true. If you say no to CBDCs, they will wake up the horse head next to you. You'll wake up with a horse head next to you, pretty much, or you'll be sleeping with the fishes. I can see XDC ETF actually too. I can see an XDC ETF actually too. Yes, so can I. I can definitely see an XDC ETF. I can see a HBAR ETF. I can see XLM ETF, and I sure as hell can definitely see an XRP ETF. Miles, the Woodhouse shirt? Nope. This is not the Woodhouse shirt, but I like the Woodhouse shirt as well. XRP will skyrocket with or without ETF. XRP will skyrocket with or without the ETF. Doesn't matter. Honestly, an XRP ETF will obviously push XRP to higher prices, guaranteed, because institutions don't like the idea of buying their crypto tokens from exchanges and holding it themselves in case something happens. So they prefer to buy an ETF. The reasons why institutions or Wall Street members prefer to buy an ETF, there's two reasons. One, they're lazy, genuinely. It was a study test. And the study test said they prefer, not knowing, everything about the asset. They just want to be a part of the profits. And the other side was essentially security, where a company like BlackRock would essentially buy the Bitcoin and they can just buy the ETF and it's secure. They're not going to compromise, they're not going to hack, they couldn't care less. They have the ETF, not the actual token itself. Now, on that topic, essentially, will XRP skyrocket with or essentially or without an ETF? It doesn't matter. I'll be honest with you. If that's what you're referring to as well, I agree. It doesn't matter because an XRP ETF obviously pushes XRP to a new higher price point. Amazing. But XRP is still going to be used as a medium of payments for international and domestic transactions. And it's also going to play a humongous role in CBDCs. So it doesn't really matter, but obviously more money. Why not? Honestly, an XRP ETF is just more money, a cherry on top. So, yeah, it's just a cherry on top. Miles, the news for Litecoin for LTC was given from you 2 to max 3 months ago. Just at the moment, I did not remember the news. Share the live. Let's go, Scott. Yep. Miles, will XDC become king coin after XRP? It shows a lot of strength. Will XDC become a king coin after XDC, after XRP? XDC is an incredible project. I've always said this. It's going to do incredibly well. It's incredibly cheap. I've always said it's dirt cheap for what it's going to become. Lol, better not. I sold all my XDC and put it into XLM. Hi, Miles, the CMF. Peg, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How you doing, Peg? If they are burning documents, they need to hold them to the fire. Yeah, amen. Good fortune to you, all the CMF. Dazzle, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? Good fortune to you as well. Talk about overextended your power, more like abusing your power. Facts. Absolutely. What the FDIC doing? Absolute facts. Grand Rising, Miles and family. It's been a while. Hope everyone is well. Ronnie, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Ronnie? How's things, brother? Even in Miles and CMF, Chief, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Why? Soko, Solana. Hi, Miles and family members. Good to see you. Alex, how you doing? How you been? Solana gone high, but it's rubbish. Yeah, I agree. Miles, many analysts say XDC's future above XLM. Is it a truth in this? XDC has an incredible future as well, just as XLM has and XRP has as well. Hi, Miles, the CMF. Zach, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hasn't China just opened a new port which not 9 days of cargo ships? Yes, I think so. Is truth, Miles? XDC has military grade security. I've heard, yes, off record if you're referring to it. I've had some more over to YouTube. I've had some move over to YouTube because my comments for some reason aren't sending you on X. Haven't you just opened a new port? Haven't they just opened a new port and knocked off 9 days for shipping? Timing. Politicians are puppets. We all know they are not pulling the strings. Yep, facts. Miles, when CBDC coming out and ready for use this year? A lot of countries are coming out with CBDCs. Miles, when CBDCs? Yeah. Shelly, just hopefully all these stupid viruses and weird scenarios will stop or lessen when Trump comes in. Worded perfectly, bro. Let's go, Ray. Cash is just an illusion of a permission of a essentially promising note. There's no monetary value or essentially is an asset. Miles, the price of XRP and the value of XRP. Talk about it a little bit, please. The price of XRP, well, we know it's sitting quite a little bit high now in terms of pounds, is around £2.74. In terms of dollars, we're on the $3 and above. XRP's price point, I mean, look, it's one is dirt cheap for what's going to compared to what's going to become. Two, the price of XRP going higher and higher each day. It just shows you the resilienceness right now inside the XRP community. Like, honestly, it's got to a stage where we don't even care what Gary Gensler has to say, which is amazing to see. Gary Gensler files in the SEC filing, and nobody could care less. Not a single person thought, oh no, Gary Gensler filed an SEC filing. everybody just kept on buying XRP, which makes Gary Gensler, fume a little bit more, which is nice to see Gary Gensler fuming for once in his life. But frustrated, in other words. But it's got to a stage where nobody cares about Gary Gensler's opinion. Nobody cares about the SEC filings anymore, because we all know the entire game is about to be changing on January 20th and onwards, essentially. So in terms of price, XRP is doing incredible. Day by day, it's going higher and higher and higher, but it's still nothing compared to what it's going to become. And the prices you're seeing now are just teaser. It's just a small little teaser of what to come. In terms of what value XRP is going to be bringing to the table, well, it's going to change the entire banking system. Some people might come out and say, no, it isn't. XRP is never going to change the banking system. They're the exact same people who said XRP won't go above $1. They're going to be the exact same person that tells people that XRP won't go above $5. They're going to be the same people that tell XRP isn't going to go above $10, and so on. You get the picture. But look, in terms of value, XRP brings the biggest value to the table in terms of financials. The biggest value to the table in terms of financials. Changing entire banking system is not easy. It's not an easy task. I've said this before as well. What XRP is trying to achieve, everybody has to give it props to, honestly, because I've said this before. Look, for example, Solana, let's just say, Solana creates a gaming project for the App Store and Google Play Store, and they release the app. And the app, let's say the gaming project that Solana releases has a few bugs. No big deal. They'll update the bugs and the app will start working again. And people could, some people might get frustrated. Oh no, I can't access this game on Solana. Oh, I can't make a transfer on Solana in this gaming project or so on. And some people might get frustrated, but that's about it. Nobody's protesting. Nobody's getting angry and nothing like that. Now, flip that scenario to what XRP is trying to achieve. XRP is trying to change an entire financial system. So let's just say, if it got to a stage where XRP even had the smallest bug, if XRP had even the smallest bug within its system. Now, being a banking system, if you have a small bug, it means that bank payments are down, which means nobody can make a payment, which means people won't be able to pay their mortgages, their rent, their loans, be able to buy groceries, pay for their bills, if XRP ever has a bug. Now, what I'm trying to say is that everybody needs to give props to XRP, because what they're trying to achieve is immense. I've said this before and I'll say it again. XRP doesn't need to be 100% sure. They need to be 1,000,000,000% sure before they press the button and launch anything. Because the field that XRP is trying to work in and resolve is high pressure, incredibly high pressure. The smallest bug of a banking system going down for a few hours can cause riots around the world. If XRP went down for 12 hours, or let's just say like Solana, the last time Solana crashed was for 4 hours. If for 4 hours people can't make bank transfers, pay their groceries, or pay their rent, or pay their mortgage, or pay their loans, it'll be havoc. So what XRP is trying to bring to the table in terms of value is immense. The task they're trying to achieve is extremely high pressure, extremely high pressure. So this is why I've never compared it to any other crypto project, because what they're trying to achieve is very different compared to any other crypto project. Other crypto projects like Solana, they're trying to come up with, gaming projects, a new phone, Solana phone. It doesn't really matter, because whatever they do, if they have bugs, and Solana's crashed 11 times, it got to a stage where people couldn't care less about it anymore. But the value XRP is trying to bring to the table is incredible. Changing the entire banking system is incredible, no doubt about it. Making it faster, more cheaper, more secure, more reliable, but it's also that CBDC play as well, which is beneficial to governments and central banks. But yeah, this is why I've always said that XRP needs to be 1,000,000,000% sure, while as other crypto projects have to be 100% sure. Financial projects, any financial project like XRP, XLM, XDC, HBOT, whatever, any financial project trying to make a difference in the banking field, they have to be 1,000,000,000% sure. They can't have any bugs in their system once they're fully operational, because the smallest bug can lead to protesting. If a banking system goes down for about 12 hours, imagine what could happen. But if a gaming project on Solana's network goes down, what happens? Nothing. So you can see what XRP is trying to achieve, and financial projects are trying to achieve, and what projects, other projects are trying to achieve. It's not really high pressure, is it? For other projects. So this is why I've always given more props to XRP. A lot more props. Where it brings incredible value to the table, especially for us as holders. For XRP, go to $10, the market cap would be astronomical. GTA introduces crypto, make money while you pay. Wow, two different topics, funny. Market cap doesn't really matter to utility projects. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's not just that market cap doesn't matter to XRP. Market cap is a terrible metric unit in general for the crypto space. Crypto projects should not be essentially on the same topic as stocks. A market cap makes sense when it comes to stocks as a metric unit. If you want to use market cap as a metric unit for stocks, it makes a lot of sense because stocks are not, they don't have any sort of utility purposes. A stock is buy, sell, quick profits. It's a share of a company that you're buying essentially into, and it has no use case whatsoever. So therefore, market cap makes sense. Now, market cap is a terrible metric unit for when you're comparing to projects that have utility and purpose. So that could be projects like XRP, could be projects like XLM, XDC, HBAR, AVAX, TON, NEAR, whatever crypto project it might be. If it has a utility purpose, it's difficult for essentially a market cap to be the only metric unit used in that scenario. So market cap is a useless, and I mean useless, metric unit when it comes to crypto projects that have utility. Not just XRP, any crypto project that has utility. It's a terrible metric unit. For XR, yeah. GTA introduces crypto and make money for while you play. Solana sound like rubbish. XRP was created by the same programmers as Bitcoin. Am I correct in thinking that? Yes, if you're referring to the poster that was set up with David Schwartz next to it. Now, talking about Certus into Luminous. Certus into Luminous questions US decisions to sell seized 70,000 Silk Road BTC. The most obvious reason of, America thinking about selling their Bitcoins off the exact same time Trump's coming into power and thinking about creating some sort of a reserve. Certus into Luminous has expressed concerns over the US's government plan to sell 69,370 Bitcoins seized in the Silk Road case. Now she's questioning federal authorities. Luminous urges them to reconsider liquidating Bitcoin to essentially Bitcoin and to reserves to tokens for future plans. In a letter addressed to the U.S. Marshal Service Director Ronald essentially L. Davis, Luminous questioned the timing and decision-making process and transparency surrounding the sale. Because what she's asking is a genuine question. Certus into Luminous is asking, why is the DOJ greenlighting Bitcoin sales now when they could have done this 4 years ago? Why are they greenlighting essentially sending money back to that particular exchange that was compromised as well? According to the Wyoming essentially senator, the BTC holdings are estimated to be worth over $6 billion at current prices. The Bitcoins are essentially linked to the Silk Road darknet marketplace seized in 2020 from an anonymous individual. Before that, the platform essentially dismantled in 2013 for aiding and abetting essentially illicit activities. At the onset of 2025, the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, has announced plans to sell the holdings of the following essentially a federal court ruling. Senator Cynthia Luminous also pointed out the concerning history of Bitcoin sales by the U.S. Marshal Service, which manages the liquidation of seized digital assets. According to her notice, the agency sold approximately 195,092 Bitcoins between 2014 and 2023 for a total of $366.5 million. The amount was reportedly lower than the current market value of those holding, which would be worth essentially $18.9 billion. This represents a staggering 98% loss in unrealized value for American taxpayers, Luminous wrote. She stressed the need for a more strategic essentially approach to managing digital assets. The DOJ has cited Bitcoin's price volatility as a key reason why sales should be made swiftly. The government arm noted that in recent court filings that the value of BTC seized and tanked by essentially $881 million in a single month. This is not a line of thought Senator Cynthia Luminous wants to accept or essentially concede to. She stands by crypto power played from essentially one government that was against crypto to another that is pro-crypto now. Senator Cynthia Luminous also suggests the decision could undermine the incoming Republicans administration's long-term crypto interest. Her letter also raised concerns about the lack of transparency regarding the government's total Bitcoin holdings. She has questioned the protocols put in place to manage those assets. Why has this information not been made essentially available to the public and transparent, up-to-date online formats, she asked. So Senator Cynthia Luminis has came out essentially and in the most simplest way has said that she doesn't believe the amount of Bitcoin the US has said it's holding. There's a lot more Bitcoin that the US government is actually holding that they're not revealing. Now, what I've always said also in the past is, you know, these doormat wallets that just pop out of nowhere. You know, it comes in the news. A wallet that has been not touched for 10 years suddenly gets activated. A wallet that was not being touched by anyone for 7 years, holding Bitcoin, has turned on. Or a wallet that's holding essentially, you know, an immense amount of Ethereum that nobody's touched for 6 years has turned on. These can also be government wallets. People always assume that they're whale wallets. You know, people assume a wallet in the Bitcoin space that hasn't been touched for 8 years essentially is, or 7 years or whatever, is, you know, some sort of a whale wallet. You know, somebody that brought Bitcoin a long time ago or mined Bitcoin a long time ago. You know, it's just a regular person. They can also be government wallets that are turning on one by one because you don't know who they belong to. So this is what essentially she's referring to of she doesn't believe what the US is saying in terms of what they're actually holding in Bitcoin value. And she wants to know why essentially they're not being transparent. Why is the US government not being transparent to her or anybody else about what they're actually holding in Bitcoin or any cryptocurrencies that matter? Last month, blockchain association firm Arkham Intelligence reported that government-controlled wallets associated only with the Silk Road, essentially BTC, moved $1.9 billion worth of crypto to Coinbase. The move spooked crypto investors who interpreted it as essentially a large-scale liquidation. Since then, traders and investors have asked the US government to explain its crypto decisions. This follows a similar trend in Germany when Germany sold off their Bitcoin assets, and obviously that ended very bad for Germany. But she's asking a genuine question. Senator Luminis is asking a genuine question. What do you actually hold in terms of crypto assets? Because I'll be honest, you know, we do have a numbers list of what each government might be holding in terms of crypto assets, but I don't believe it for a second. There's no way that a government, any government, is transparent. The words transparent don't really go in the same sentence as government. The words transparent don't really go in the same sentence as politicians. It never does, and it never will, unfortunately. So I don't believe any country for a second when they come out and go, yep, this is how much Bitcoin we're holding, or this is how much whatever we're holding. Don't believe them for a second unless we see those wallets, which we'll never get to see anyways. Unless you're a major, unless you're somebody like Trump, essentially, who gets to have some sort of access to this wallet later on. But yeah, she is asking genuine questions, to be fairly honest. And she's asking why now? Why is the US government, why is the DOJ greenlighting Bitcoin sales the moment we're about to be coming in for a positive crypto round? Also, if you're wondering to yourself, you know, the US government comes out and decides to sell their Bitcoin reserves, is that going to affect essentially the price of Bitcoin? Is that going to affect the price of essentially XRP or XLM or any other crypto asset you're holding? Up to a certain extent, yes, depending on what crypto assets you're holding. Bitcoin obviously will get the biggest blow, but projects like, you know, XRP, XLM, XDC, and HBAR will take a tiny blow and it will come back up speeding. Whereas Bitcoin will be taking the biggest blow before we go into presidency. Or go up to a stage, option number 2, people couldn't care less. And because people like MicroStrategy, MicroSailor are going to come in and sweep up all the Bitcoin that's left behind from the US government. So there's that scenario as well. MicroStrategy comes in out of nowhere and just scoops it up. Now, what we're going to be talking about next, essentially, moving off essentially from the Silk Road scenario and Senator Cynthia Luminis asking genuine questions to Bitwise CEO. Now, the Bitwise CEO has came up with a perspective on nations considering a Bitcoin ETF for foreign reserves. But before we go through that, let's go start the comment section first. As I said previously, this is a live show, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's see where we're at inside the comment section. When institutions want to buy crypto, they don't look at market cap, they look at use case, facts. Perfectly put. XDC is China-based. Do you see US companies trying to take over similar software crypto projects offering as XDC for trade industries? Yes, but R3 Corridor is also Bank of International Settlements based. When institutions, so I do, yeah. When institutions buy, they look at how they can control the market cap and make a profit. Incorrect. Because yes, that is a factor as well. You know, when institutions buy into something, they want to know if they can make a profit. It's true, but they want to know if they can make a profit in 5 years' time, in a 5-year projection or 10-year projection, or in some cases a 25-year projection or 50-year projection. But there's also a different thing in play. They're not looking at stocks; they're looking at utility case. So they're actually looking at use case. Because I'll tell you what, Ronnie, great way to put it. You know, when institutions buy crypto assets, they're looking at how they can control the market cap and make a profit. It's right up to a certain extent, because if you look beyond market cap when it comes to institutions and beyond making a quick profit, institutions would rather look at utility and use case more than they would ever look at market cap. Because if they look at the utility of a crypto project, it's an immense field of money. Basically, it's a money pit. Because when they look at the utility of a crypto project, they look at it as, oh, okay, this crypto project established and can be used in a banking system as a medium of payments, and it can essentially be used for international domestic payments, 24/7 payments, and replace the entire financial system. That is basically a money, that's just going to be a money field for them, essentially. So they can look at, control in terms of looking at the market cap of a crypto project and essentially making a profit, or they can look beyond that, which is typically what institutions do. Institutions don't look at the tip of their nose, they look further beyond that. Retail section looks at the tip of their nose and doesn't look anything beyond that, essentially in most cases. So institutions would rather look at the utility case of a crypto project because that is long-term play. That is why institutions are always 10,000 steps ahead of the retail section, because the retail section, at most, think about either next week, next month, or next year. Institutions are thinking about 100 years ahead. How is this company going to move forward 100 years ahead, essentially, is what they're really looking into. So they're most cases looking at utility cases, hence the amount of contracts that are in play with major institutions in play. So, no. I would say they're looking beyond that, and the contracts between crypto projects and institutions and banks would show that as well, where they're looking at utility. Because if you look at the contracts between crypto projects and institutions, it does show you that they're looking beyond market cap. They're looking at utility. When you have essentially SBI and Ripple coming together, they're not looking at essentially market cap. SBI is not looking at market cap when they created SBI Ripple. They're looking at utility. Metico essentially and Ripple and Sancho back, and it could go on and on and on with every company and essentially every bank, with every blockchain project, with every bank, or every blockchain project, with every institution coming together to do a contract. They're not looking at market cap when they come together to build. They're coming together for utility, which is a 1,000-year plan. So they're looking beyond that, and the contracts do show that. Miles, why is AVAX not moving? Price go up. AVAX will be moving slowly. What they confiscated from Silk Road, right? 69,000 Bitcoins, bro. I would love the person operating that wallet to hit the wrong button and go drained. Let's go, Ronnie. Will there be a big pump on January 20th or not? The excitement on January 20th will be there. There's a scenario of buy the rumor, sell the news, but that scenario seems like it's not playing out according to essentially Grayscale even. Michael may have scooped too much Bitcoin up. He's scooped too much. I agree with that one. The same as well. The UK sold all their gold. Yeah, Putin definitely holds the most Bitcoins. Let's go, Ronnie. If you're putting your trust in the government, thinking they're going to do the best for you, you're so effed. I agree. Sean says institutions ain't buying no crypto projects. Bitcoin only. Every else is going to zero. Of course it is, Sean. How could it not? Sean, I do feel sorry for you. But I don't understand why your name is Sean Wisdom, because you're not offering any wisdom. But Sean, what I will say to you is good luck. I just hope one day you do decide to grow some brain cells and you realize what's happening around you. Because on the topic of institutions ain't buying no crypto projects, did you look at the filings with the SEC and Ripple case where there was 1,200 institutions that were buying XRP? I'm guessing you didn't look at those filings, did you, Sean? Sean, maybe you should change your surname from Wisdom to something else. Maybe Sean Brick Wall, because everything I'm saying is most likely bouncing off a brick wall. To you. Honestly, it's like morons. Sean, I am sorry for calling you a moron, but you're an adult. Grow up. Ask yourself, honestly, if you just look, this is why I don't understand. When you look at PDFs, they tell you everything. If you just picked up one PDF in your entire life and read it, you would read essentially a PDF document where it says, and it states, it's Ripple versus SEC case, the biggest case inside the crypto space. It states, Ripple has been selling XRP to 1,200 institutions. And Sean goes, everything is going to zero, only Bitcoin, no institutions buying anything else. Sean brain goes, yeah, honestly, definitely change your word to more, definitely change your surname, Sean, because wisdom is far from you. I'll be very honest, Sean. Wisdom is trying to run towards you, but you're running away from wisdom. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard, Sean Wisdom. Ask yourself, why has the UK government capital gains to £3,000? Because they know what's coming, so they can tax you. Yeah, I've already said, yeah, I was on the same line as that. Miles, one guy, like your brain show. Like your brain show. So what's happening in January 20, everyone's saying is big change? Yes, because Trump's policy is coming in. Miles, one guy telling me buy spell token. Don't go anywhere near spell token. Sean Brain goes to zero. British humor, definitely British humor, honestly. Moron. Sean the sheep. Sean is the reason why so many people missed out on XRP. Facts. It is people like Sean, because people will look at people like Sean's comments and then miss out on XRP. Sean is honestly facts. Sean is a better bellhead. Now, nations are considering Bitcoin ETFs for foreign reserves. Bitwise CEO. Hunter Hosley, the CEO essentially of Bitwise Assets Management, announced today that a national government is considering investing in Bitcoin, including ETFs. Hunter shared this post on X, revealing that they have provided information about the Bitcoin ETFs, essentially. The nation is considering relocating to a portion of its foreign exchange reserves, typically held in foreign government bonds, into Bitcoin. We just provided some information for a nation state, essentially asking about Bitcoin ETFs, considering moving some exposure from foreign currencies and governments' bonds into BTC. Bitcoin is entering into a new chapter, and so is everything else. He stated this development aligns with the recent comments by Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, who describes Bitcoin as more of a competitor to gold than traditional currencies. This highlights Bitcoin's increasing recognition as a legitimate asset class. The rising essential interest in Bitcoin ETFs coincides with the state-level legislative initiatives to integrate Bitcoin to everyday, essentially, financials. Now, in Oklahoma, for example, State Senator Dusty essentially has recently proposed a Bitcoin Freedom Act, which I read out to everyone and shared essentially a few days ago, which would essentially permit employees to be paid in essentially crypto transactions and allow businesses to accept them essentially in the form of payment. Meanwhile, countries are also increasingly adapting Bitcoin and ETFs, or essentially any other ETFs, to enhance their presence in digital asset space. Thailand, for example, is considering its first locally focused listed Bitcoin ETF to compete with Singapore and Hong Kong, which have favorable cryptocurrency regulations. The SEC is exploring investment options for individuals and institutions on the local exchanges. And although direct Bitcoin ETFs have not yet been approved, Thailand is working on that matter. In another essential development, Opsui Fund plans to also convert this Opsui Bitcoin Trust, OBTC, into an ETF. After the acquisition deal with the Bitwise has collapsed, the firm announced it would file a Form S-1 with the US SEC to facilitate its transition. OBTC, launched in February 2021, offers investors easy Bitcoin exposure at a competitive 0.49% management fee. So expect another Bitcoin ETF coming into board from Opsui Bitcoin. But Bitwise's CEO perspective on the matter of what's about to happen next is basically the national reserve that Trump is talking about. So Bitwise's CEO pretty much backing the words of Trump's, the Bitcoin reserves is going to be creating. Now, moving on essentially from the perspective on this matter from Bitwise's CEO to Coinbase. Coinbase has decided to launch a Bitcoin-backed loans. Coinbase has introduced a new service allowing customers of the United States, except those in New York, to borrow USDC stablecoins using their Bitcoin as collateral. Now, borrowing against your crypto assets is the best play you can pretty much have. If you want to skip on tax, no matter what country you live in, you can live in the United Kingdom, you can live in the EU, you can live in Canada, you can live in Australia, America, any country in the world. And if you don't want to pay crypto tax, there is a legitimate way, which is borrow against your crypto assets and use them as collateral, and then you don't pay tax on debt. That is what people are doing on Wall Street right now. They're borrowing against their Bitcoins, they're borrowing against their Bitcoin ETFs, and you don't pay tax on debt. So people on Wall Street right now are paying 0% tax in America. Everybody will tell you, you would have to move to Dubai to have that tax-free lifestyle in crypto, or Monaco, or essentially, Portugal for about 5 years or so on. You don't have to move to Dubai. You don't have to move to an unknown country you've never been to. You can stay in the country you live in if you want to, and just borrow against your crypto assets and use them as collateral. And you don't pay tax on debt, essentially, in the most simplest way. Now, Coinbase and its borrowing against your crypto assets is going to, be a big thing, very big thing, on the regulations especially. And Coinbase is starting with a Bitcoin collateral scenario. So the new feature will allow users to get quick loans without selling their Bitcoins. Loans will have flexible repayment options and competitive interest rates. The service use an open source lending protocol, Coinbase's base blockchain essentially. The company said on a blog, getting a Bitcoin-backed loan on Coinbase is now easier and faster than ever. In under a minute, you can get a loan in USDC without ever having to sell your Bitcoins. Users can borrow up to $100,000 in USDC according to their Bitcoin holdings. When users borrow, their Bitcoin is converted into Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin at a 1-to-1 ratio and held as collateral on this platform. The interest rates are dynamic and adjust with market conditions in real time. The loan terms essentially provide consumers with repayment freedoms, as there is no essential repayment timetables, and users may track their loans status via the Coinbase app. If the loan amount plus interest exceeds the value of the collateral, loans are subject to liquidation. Coinbase highlights the advantages of borrowing the Bitcoin rather than selling it, citing potential tax benefits. Even Coinbase is coming out and saying, look, if you borrow against your crypto assets, you pay zero tax, citing potential tax benefits in the capital gains or losses scenario. The launch of these Bitcoin-backed loans is another step in Coinbase's commitment to provide users with greater control over their financial lives, according to the company. By combining Coinbase's accountability with transparent, decentralized features of on-chain protocols, the company hopes to provide a vastly improved financial services. Now, obviously, there are, things in play that you should know about borrowing against your crypto assets. Obviously, the money that you get when you borrow against your crypto assets, if you don't pay it back in time, your crypto assets will be liquidated. If you don't use the money, essentially for the next best ROI, essentially don't pay on time, liquidation. If the market goes up, essentially, you can borrow against your crypto assets again, pay off the original loan. If the market goes down and you don't have enough collateral, you'll also be liquidated as well. There's a lot of things to consider when it comes to borrowing against your crypto assets. But once you know everything to a T, just the option of paying zero tax is all, the benefits that you would need pretty much. But obviously, this is not financial advice. And if you do want to borrow against your crypto assets, please read everything before you go forward with anything. And this is not financial advice, just a personal preference, just entertainment purposes only. Now, XRP versus SEC. One of the biggest things inside the crypto space. XRP versus SEC, which is coming to an end. Pretty much, I'll be fairly honest. You know, Gary Gensler leaving January 20th is all we needed. Also, we have a vice chairman in the pro-crypto committee who has came out and said that he can't wait to throw Gary Gensler in the bin. Imagine that one. I shared this yesterday on this live on episode 242, where this vice presidential member came out and said he can't wait to throw Gary Gensler in the bin. And he's a vice chairman of a crypto committee in Congress. Now, XRP versus SEC. Experts weigh in on the outcomes of January 20th. In an interview with Tony Edwards of Thinking Crypto, Ron Hammond of the Blockchain Association spoke about what could be in store for the SEC with Paul Atkins as the chairman. When asked about essentially the Ripple suit, Hammond said he is hopeful that with the SEC cases like Ripple, it may get resolved quicker. He stressed that the industry has to go forward and hoped new leadership would find quicker resolutions to pending suits, but he added it remains to be seen how Atkins will handle the existing legal actions. Hammond also pointed out that the rules could become clearer with Paul Atkins. While it is not certain, he noted that there is hope for the SEC to resolve big cases and give clear essential rules for crypto industries. There is hope that the new leadership will speed up settlements, he said. Hammond added that laws could help create essentially clearer guidelines, but he recognized that this would take time. Paul Atkins will likely be confirmed as the new SEC chair by the end of January. He is presently completing the necessary paperwork and hearings regarding his nomination that will take place during the next few weeks. Hammond speculated that Atkins will probably appear before the Senate Banking Committee soon as well. He sees Paul Atkins as a safe pick, which should ease his confirmation. Paul Atkins, upon his confirmation, will join the key SEC officials such as Hester Pierce and Mark. Both have advocated for more explicit regulations in the crypto space for several years. With Paul Atkins as the chair, it is hoped that the SEC will bring the clear rules that the industry has been asking for the longest time. And it is also hoped that the SEC will collaborate with Congress to establish a vital laws in permitting cryptocurrencies. Look, Paul Atkins coming into power, excellent for the SEC, excellent for the crypto space. Two, before Paul Atkins come into place, Mark essentially and Hester Pierce will be playing the role as the SEC chairmanship. When Gary Gensler leaves, it's going to take about a week or a few days or a little bit of a time period before Paul Atkins comes and takes his seat essentially as the SEC chairman. So Gary Gensler leaves. Who's going to be speaking for the SEC? Well, it's going to be Hester Pierce and Mark, who are both extremely pro essentially crypto. One of them doesn't know till this day why the SEC is suing Ripple, and that's Hester Pierce. So we're in safe hands, is what I'm trying to say. January 20th comes along, Gary Gensler leaves the SEC before Paul Atkins comes in and takes the chairmanship of the SEC. We're in good hands. Hester Pierce, pro crypto. She loves the idea of she attends crypto projects and makes speeches as an SEC commissioner. And doesn't know why they're suing Ripple in the first place. Why is Gary Gensler even suing essentially Ripple in the first place? So January 20th comes, SEC's, Gary Gensler's out the door. Hester Pierce essentially and Mark will take charge until essentially Paul Atkins comes and takes their seat. So we're in good hands January 20th and beyond until Paul Atkins comes. So regarding the Ripple case or any other crypto case, they're all going to be dismissed or settled. And that is why nobody cared. And I mean nobody cared when Gary Gensler filed against Ripple yesterday. Not a single person cared. In the past, when Gary Gensler filed against Ripple, everybody was shooken. Everybody was, because there was no alternative. It was Ripple versus SEC, and we didn't have any other option. But now we do. Trump. And because we know Trump is coming January 20th, we couldn't care less whatever Gary Gensler does. At all. We just couldn't care less. And the market shows that. SEC, Gary Gensler files, XRP went higher. In the past, that was the opposite. SEC files, XRP goes down. Now, SEC files, XRP goes up. Because we have an alternative. We have something to look forward to. That's a Trump presidency. As I've always said, thank God Trump won. Now, all good things must come to an end, which they have now as well. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this was the CMF Live. It stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Miles, and I'm the host of this live. This live airs Monday to Friday, 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards, and I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about. And obviously, the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. Now, before we do go, let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see where we were at. Sean's game was not harder. XRP, XLM, XDC, ACH, HBAR. Excellent. I don't think Sean will be back long. Hello, Miles and CMF Blender. Good to see you. How you doing? I bet this dude Sean must have regrets for making that moronic comments. Governments break the word down by governing your mind because you give them the power to think for yourself. Critical thinking seems very short supply these days. I agree. Facts. Let's go, Ronnie. Sean Parent have forgot. Miles HBAR pumping right now. Let's go. HBAR is an incredible asset as well. CMF, forget about Sean. Moving on. Yes, definitely. How much HBAR is needed for success? Whatever you can afford, depending on your budget. And Miles, when will you XDC is the second best way after? Well, XDC is an incredible project, is what I would say as well. Coinbase is allowing you to borrow against your Bitcoin. Open to a trust and store your Bitcoin crypto as a trust. So you can do that as well. Will banks rent your coin off you and give you monthly payments like house rent? No, that's not how it works. But that's not how it works now. Miles, are you planning on? It could do, but Miles, are you planning on moving anywhere once CBDCs are fully operational around the world? Yes. Miles, another outstanding night mentor, aka Miles. Let's go, Scott. Share the live, folks. Let's go, Scott. Let's go, Miles. Scott. Let's go. I think Sean is Michael Saylor Butler. Miles, some guy tell me buy Gigacoin. Is this a goof? Gigacoin makes it. No, don't go towards Gigacoin. Not financial advice in a sort of way. Similar to staking your crypto assets, you need to understand the risk. Facts. I agree, Ronnie. Absolutely. HBAR just leaked XLM. Let's go, HBAR. Good night, Miles and all CMF. Thank you for a great live. All the news. JP, let's go. I want to say thank you so much also to everyone who has liked this live, who has commented on this live. CMF members, thank you so much to every single one of you. And if you were new also, who liked this live, who commented on this live, who retweeted this live on X and put a comment outside the live and liked each other's comments as well. And everyone on YouTube who liked this live as well and put a comment on YouTube as well. Good night, Miles. Thank you as always. Pierce, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. JP, have a good night. Oh, Carol, that was the JP's message. Her bags are full, just like Nancy Pelosi's. Follow the money. Facts. Good night, Miles, for another entertaining night. Funky brother, let's go. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Have a good night, Miles and CMF. Carol, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Thank you, Miles. See you tomorrow. All Dennis, see you tomorrow same time as usual. Let's go, CMF. Like, share, and comment, please. Let's go, Peg. Facts. Good night, Miles and CMF. Stormy, good night. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Have an awesome night, Miles. Thanks for all you share with us. See you tomorrow. Artistic, see you tomorrow same time as usual. Thank you for sharing, Miles. Have a wonderful night. Oh, Lena, let's go. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Have a good night, Miles. And all CMF, thank you very much. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Brilliant live as usual. Thank you for your time. Share with us. Night, Miles and CMF. Joe, see you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Thanks, Legend. Appreciate your insight. Night and day, CMF. Let's go, Shelly. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. And good night, all Genos. Let's go. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. Thanks for the info. See you tomorrow. XLM back on top. Let's go for forever. Thanks again, Miles. Have a great night. Everyone, go spend a seat tomorrow as well. You have to remind that Trump still bows down to the owl on the Bohemian Road. That's a rabbit hole. It is, yes. Good night, Miles and CMF. Mike, see you tomorrow sometimes as usual as well. Nice one, Miles. Take care. Zach, let's go. See you tomorrow sometimes as usual. I will be seeing everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. And if you already haven't, follow me. If you haven't already, subscribe. If you already haven't already, tune in tomorrow, same timing as usual, 11:25 p.m. for the next episode of the CMF Live. It's Monday to Friday only, which means Friday tomorrow essentially is the last episode until the next Monday. So this is episode 243 that you're watching right now. Tune in for episode 244 tomorrow. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual, 11:25 p.m. UK time. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual.